So, quite some time ago, I did a video about SETI, or Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and the WOW signal. Since the video was completed, the search for habitable planets continues to turn up far more planets than was originally expected. This in turn means the prospect of finding intelligent life in the star system close enough to us that we can actually communicate with the life in that actual system has increased greatly. This search for intelligent alien life then brings up another related question. If we do get some form of signal from an intelligent alien on another planet, should we reply to them? And if we do reply, what should we actually say? Well, we've been sending out transmissions almost by accident for around 100 years. Potentially, those transmissions could be detected by aliens. However, most of those signals are so weak and unfocused, while aliens may be able to figure out that the signals are artificial in origin and be able to pinpoint the planet where the signal was coming from, they wouldn't be able to extract much information from the signals to be helpful in communicating with us, other than finding out what frequencies we might be using to communicate, and so in turn know what frequencies we might be listening to. However, at best that would mean those signals would only reach out as far as 100 light years from Earth by now, which covers a relatively small number of stars, probably around 14,000 stars, out of the Milky Way's around 400 billion stars. And in more recent years, there's been a more targeted and slightly more controversial approach to contacting potential nearby aliens by METI, or the Messaging Extra-Terrestrial Intelligence. METI involves powerful radio signals being aimed at a relatively close star, with signals containing mathematical formula and similar intelligent signals. This direct signaling means that the information in the signal is less likely to be obscured by other radio traffic, resulting in a message that's more likely to be received and translated at the other end, if of course someone has the capability to do that. This form of attempted deliberate contact is not without its critics though. There are some people who think that the Earth is not yet ready to handle contact with aliens, and sending out a broad "hello, we are here, come and visit the intelligent people on the habitable planet" might not actually be in our best interests. So if we were to get a reply to one of these various radio signals that we've been sending out over the years, what would be the impact of being contacted by aliens? Firstly, let's clarify what we're talking about as being in the form of a reply. Firstly, it's extremely unlikely that some ET will fly on over to visit us. Even if ET has interstellar travel, such travel is likely to be very time-consuming and resource-intensive. So while a radio signal may get their attention, a reply is also likely to come back in the form of another radio signal. This will actually be quicker and cheaper to achieve. But while I say quicker, any communication is going to be a very slow process. Proxima Centauri is the nearest star to our solar system, and that is 4.2 light years away, meaning that a message sent from Earth will take over 4 years to reach any planet orbiting around Proxima, with another 4 years for a return reply. Unless an alien civilization has developed faster than light travel, a radio signal is going to be the fastest method of replying, and that is going to be a very slow process. When you add in the time to translate the message and draft reply, we're talking probably a minimum 10-year time gap between a message being sent and a direct reply being received. And that's just for the closest star, one which we currently don't think has any obvious intelligent life around it. So for any other star, the gap between the messages is going to be even longer. This means that the conversation, if you can call that, is going to be closely related to a call and response. It's likely that the initial messages exchanged are going to be related to smoothing out any communications issues. They involve exchanging ideas about some basic concepts and what we may have in common, like mathematics and chemistry. In addition, there may be some kind of primer sent, allowing for easier translation from one alien language to another. It could be really difficult if we don't share some common ideas and concepts in our languages. This does mean it'll be 20 years or more before any solid information actually being passed between civilizations, at which stage the chance of a visit from ET does increase, not only just to meet us, but also reduce the time between parts of the conversation. The longer the conversation goes on, the greater chance that society on either side actually change and evolve, in part due to the conversation and in part just due to the normal progression of time. That then leads us to questions: how would people on Earth react to being contacted by aliens? Well, what we can say is there won't be a unified response. Individuals and even countries will react differently. In short term, there's likely to be a rise in the number of suicides, and with panic buying of items and hoarding of items. In general, fear of a possible alien invasion. As panic reaction from some members of the population is likely to reduce fairly quickly, it becomes obvious that an invasion isn't actually imminent. Some people then feel that the communication was all faked, alternatively it's all part of some big government conspiracy, like maybe the aliens are already among us and are running the government, with this being a way of disguising any accidental sightings of aliens. Maybe some new alien-related religions are developed. The precise nature of these will depend on the results of the actual communication. Once the initial reaction phase passes, longer-term societal changes may actually take place. This could result in a desire to increase funding in space and scientific research, coupled with research into military technologies aimed at combating any potential alien threat. The other side to this concern may be that existing conflicts between nations and groups ease, or even new peace treaties are signed. Potentially, even a unified global government of some kind is actually formed. Most of the existing conflicts on Earth are about differences or perceived differences, and generally summed up as disputes between them and us. Discovery aliens would both broaden out the ideas of both them and also what it actually means to be us, to a possible extent where people on Earth find they have much more in common than actually have differences. It is looking at themselves as one group of humans, all on this one small planet, might be the greatest benefit of actually being contacted by aliens, not any technology or information they may be able to share with us. Instead, we'll come to a realization that we're not alone in the universe and aren't special or unique as a species, and that we're not even the center of life and intelligence in the universe, but just one form of life on one small planet orbiting a fairly otherwise ordinary star. Having said that, should we actually contact potential other civilizations out there, and what should we say? Well, it's already too late to hide away and pretend no one's at home. If aliens possess the technology required to communicate with us, it's highly likely they've already detected our first early steps in broadcasting radio waves into space. Now, that doesn't mean that we should continue with METI program. While the METI does increase the likelihood of communicating with a friendly, intelligent, helpful group of aliens, that isn't the only possible outcome of an attempt at communication. If an alien civilization actually developed the technology and infrastructure to build vessels capable of traveling between the stars, the level of cooperation required to achieve that, along with the durability of the civilization, probably means that they're unlikely to be a hostile, aggressive species. But unlikely doesn't mean that there's zero risk. It means that directly contacting another intelligent species may come with an associated risk. It's possible that another species may be hopping from planet to planet, looking for another place to settle and seeing what resources they can exploit, a kind of expansionist colonial civilization, like many civilizations on Earth a few hundred years ago. Contacting them may indicate that the Earth has the space and resources they may be looking for once the aliens deal with the current inhabitants. In addition, if they're able to travel between the stars, they're also likely to possess superior level of technology, mean resistance to a hostile takeover will be short and fairly futile, despite what Hollywood may lead us to believe. So if we are to send out messages to be heard by an intelligent alien species, what should that message contain? The basic mathematical and scientific messages sent out by METI are seen as a good starting point. It's a fairly safe way of introducing ourselves. It's also likely the information we're sending out will not be new to any aliens who possess the ability to actually pick up and translate the message. In addition, the message isn't threatening in any way, but it also doesn't actually reveal too much about the senders or the planet the message is being sent from. Now, we had the gold discs which were on the Voyager spacecraft, which contained a lot of information about the Earth, where it was, what people and even animals were on the planet. Now, the chances of the Voyager craft actually contacting aliens were extremely remote compared to sending out a radio signal. Indeed, the intention of the gold discs was more about getting the people on Earth to think about what kind of message, music and images, sounds and animals should be used to represent the Earth. So even though the Voyager message was sent out into space, the real audience was actually here on Earth. There was also an earlier attempt to send a message to some aliens. A radio message was sent out in 1974 from the Arecibo radio transmitter, which was aimed towards the globular cluster Messier 13. Aliens today would decipher the digital messages. Actually, it isn't immediately obvious what the message is. You'll find it contains information on the chemicals which are used to make DNA, prime numbers, and the location of Earth in relation to the other planets. Now, the risks of something going wrong with the Arecibo message are almost zero, as the message would take around 25,000 years to reach the target destination and have a turnaround time of about 50,000 years. And who knows what technology humanity will have in 50,000 years if we survive at all. However, though it's low risk, it's also low reward. With many other potential star systems that may receive the message, the length of time it will take to get a reply basically means that potential contact is near useless. Indeed, sending out the message in 1974 was again more of an attempt to prove what was possible with the technology of the day rather than a serious attempt at contact. The Arecibo message was a short message sent in binary code, which in theory an intelligent advanced alien species should be able to decode. However, is that actually the best way to start a conversation with a new alien species? An alien receiving the message, while recognizing the message is artificial in nature and identifying that the message would have been sent by an intelligent civilization, the coded message sends very little about the sender. It could even be interpreted as the humans have left the communication system on automatic, and there may be nobody left to send or receive a reply. Sending a message in a language used on Earth like English may actually reveal more about humanity. While it may be more difficult to translate, a long enough message is sent, you should be able to figure out the basics of language, especially if some basic alphabet or dictionary was included with the initial message. So if you were actually in charge of sending an initial message to aliens, or replying to a message they sent to us, how would you send the message? And what would you want to include? Are there things you want to exclude? For instance, there might be a temptation to say that we are a peaceful race, which, if they've intercepted some of our earlier radio signals, they may think is a lie, which could cause some problems. Alternatively, even the mention of the concept of peaceful means we actually have experience of the exact opposite. So it might be worth bypassing all references to that at all. So would you stick to conversations about science and mathematics, or would you want to show aliens that there's more to human life than those topics? I personally would want some of the earliest communications to contain some form of music and art. And quite how you go about that, I'm not quite sure. Or even which art and music you actually choose.